A few of my subscribers have informed me about this story right here, and let me tell you, I have heard you. I've seen the emails. I've seen the tag post and everything, and I'm here to tell you I'm finally going to talk about it. So, if you did not know, there has been 72 Philadelphia police officers that have pretty much been taken off of the street after some racist, inflammatory posts have been discovered on Facebook and social media. Am I surprised by this? No. I will say though that 72 is a very high number. That's like, I'm not sure what the exact number is for that department, but that's a very high number for that department. And that lets me know that's probably shit. I wouldn't be surprised if that's probably over half the department right there. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't surprise me. And also too, a lot of people think that racism is just in the South. No, it's everywhere. It's just that it's more subtle in the North. And see, these races have gotten so bold that they are literally putting how they feel out there online on social media, and they don't have to hide anymore. I'm telling you, the Klan, they may not be walking around in sheets out in public anymore, or walking around with crosses and burning them in people's yards. But like I said, they have infiltrated places like being doctors, dentist offices, lawyers, judges, and especially police departments. Any place where they feel that they can have some significant level of power over you, that's where they have gone. And of course, the bonus is that they'll get paid for it as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this article coming from npr.org. And I noticed that the commissioner happens to be a black man. Again, they're putting a black face out there to cover a palm-colored problem. We've seen this all the time, so it doesn't surprise me that that's the case. The Philadelphia Police Department has pulled 72 officers off their regular duties as authorities investigate inflammatory social media posts revealed in a database that found thousands of offensive postings by current and former officers, the city police commissioner said Wednesday. Police officials in Philadelphia are describing the action of the largest removal of officers from the street in recent memory. We are equally as disgusted by many of the posts that you saw. In many cases, the rest of the nation saw, said Philadelphia Police Commissioner Richard Ross. It is the latest fallout since the advocacy group, the Plainview Project, earlier this month released thousands of Facebook posts and comments by current and former police officers that range from racist memes to posts celebrating violence and messages containing Islamophobic themes, among other offensive material. Since the data dump, internal affairs officials and police departments include Phoenix, and ironically, we just talked about Phoenix, Arizona, involving that family and that incompetent police chief talking about they've never experienced something like this before, yet they are the first place that they named as an example in this article besides Philadelphia. Phoenix, St. Louis, and Dallas are probing whether the distasteful and sometimes violent material should warrant disciplinary action or terminations. The fact that they have to even wonder this lets you know that they are okay with it. If they will put something like that online on social media, they don't need to be out on the street patrolling anything, because that lets you know that they're going to take whatever they put online and they're going to apply it in real time against an actual person that they talked about. So if they're making racist stuff, they're most likely going to target a black person. If they're talking about Islamophobic stuff, then they're going to go after an Arab person, or not an Arab, but a Muslim person. I mean, it's common sense. Notice that they're not talking about their own. They're talking about other people. In Philadelphia, Ross said Wednesday that at least several dozen of the 72 officers now on desk duty will be disciplined and others will be fired, but he did not provide specifics, including any of the names of those who have been taken off their regular duties. The public has a right to know who they are, especially if you live in the Philadelphia area. For all we know, the people who have put this stuff out there have probably terrorized citizens before. I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised if that were the case. And desk duty, that's nothing. That's a slap on the wrist. We've talked about from the outset how disturbing, how disappointing, and how upsetting these posts are. Now, here's the thing. This guy, Richard Ross, is the commissioner. He's a black guy. They were making racist posts. Have you ever thought that maybe they could have been talking about you in any of those posts? I mean, just the thought. That means that you would probably should be the one that's just as offended as anybody, especially since you're the commissioner. You're like over that entire area. The fact that you're a black commissioner and these were 72 officers and most likely all of them were white and they made racist posts. You probably were one of the ones they talked about, even if they didn't mention your name. They could have said something subliminally out of jealousy because here's a black guy who's commissioner. I would be very worried about that if I were him. He says they will undeniably impact police community relations. David Rudofsky, a longtime Philadelphia civil rights lawyer who focuses on police misconduct, called the decision to place 72 officers on desk duty significant, saying the social media posts appear to show conduct that is inconsistent with the department's promise of fair and equal treatment for all residents. More important will be the future decisions regarding sanctions or other measures to deal with this widespread problem in the police department. Now, see, here's the thing. They will handle them with kid gloves and say when they're putting all this kind of stuff out there on the internet. But if you had someone like myself or anyone else said F the police or kill 12 or, roast this pig or whatever, they would be knocking down my door. But they can say it in, oh, well, you know what? Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. We'll just put them on desk duty. And that'll be punishment enough, and then let time pass, and then we'll just slide them right back out onto the street. Let's see here. Philadelphia criminal defense lawyer Paul Hexnicker agreed that the Facebook message scandal is a fresh reminder of an issue that has long plagued city law enforcement. We're all aware of it. There's not anyone who has been connected to the criminal justice system in Philadelphia who isn't aware of underlying problems of implicit bias and explicit bias that these posts reflect that have existed for a long, long time, for decades. The research project tracking officers' use of social media flagged offensive material posted about 2,900 current officers, some in supervisor roles, and posts by hundreds of former police officers across 8 police departments. The database, first reported by BuzzFeed and Injustice Watch, was undertaken by Philadelphia lawyer Emily Baker White, who compiled the trove of postings in an effort to examine whether the online behavior could undermine public trust in police or make it difficult for officers to work with minority communities. After looking through the postings, Ross said some of the bigoted content will indeed compromise confidence in the city's police department. Well, it will definitely undermine the confidence amongst the city's citizens, which is the ones that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. After all, it's really our tax-paying money that's going to them. This puts us in a position to work even harder than we already do to cultivate relationships with neighborhoods and individual groups that we struggle to work with or struggle to maintain relationships with now, basically urban areas. We will work tirelessly to repair that reputation. I don't think that reputation can be repaired. The scandal has implicated more than 300 officers in Philadelphia, a city that has 6,500 active police officers. It would not be fair, Ross said, to assume all officers are biased because of the Facebook activities of a fraction of a department. I'm not so sure about that. They may need to do some more investigating. There are many, many thousands who don't think like this and who wouldn't engage in this kind of behavior. But here's the thing, though. It's a collective. I say investigate all of them. Wouldn't make sense to assume that everybody is a racist and everybody is Islamophobic and everybody is a sexist. Well, here's the thing. Just because they didn't post it up online doesn't mean that they aren't. They just are smart not to put it out there for public consumption. The department has hired the private law firm Ballard Spahr to sift through the 3,100 posts identified as containing offensive messages. The firm will help determine whether the post was protected under the First Amendment. Here they go. They love to use that First Amendment. But see, that First Amendment should have consequences. Additionally, anti-bias, anti-racist training. Let me tell y'all something. I was getting ready to say in the article towards the end, they better not talk about having some diversity training. I'm not even lying. I was going to say that. How did I know? How did I know that they were going to mention this in this article? I don't know what anti-bias or anti-racist training is, or diversity training, as they like to so popular, as they have made popular, as they call it. I don't know what that's going to do. You cannot you cannot shake the racism out of anybody. You can't. Once it's there, it is there. Okay. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. Additionally, so-called anti-bias and so-called anti-racist training will be conducted across the department. The only reason they're doing this is because they have to. If they don't do it, then they'll put a bigger stain on the department. Will be conducted across the department, and officers will be reminded of what constitutes appropriate behavior on social media, according to Ross. But here's the thing: these are grown men and women. They should know better. It's not that much training in the world. Officials will also launch periodic audits of police officers' social media accounts. The department's social media policy prohibits profanity, discriminatory language, or personal insults. The 72 officers placed on desk duty represents the largest removal of Philadelphia police officers from the streets over a single investigation. I can't think of any other investigation that we've undertaken, at least in my 30 years, with that many people taken off the street at one time. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney has called the officers' Facebook postings extremely disturbing. The content of the social media posts are anti-ethical to our administration's values and simply won't be tolerated. He is confident that the commissioner will discipline officers accordingly when the investigation concludes. The Philadelphia NAACP has called on Ross to fire officers who are found to have published objectionable material. I don't agree with the NAACP on everything, but I do agree with that. They should be fired, and make sure that they're actually fired and not shuffled around to other places to try to hide their tracks. While Ross would not say how many officers will be terminated at the end of the department's investigation, which it should be all of them, he said the post will cause some law enforcement officials to lose their jobs. Why does he sound so upset? There are some, sadly, Ross said, who won't return to service here. Well, forget that. They made their bed, now they must lie in it. Yet again, they put another black figurehead in there who wants us to feel sorry for them, or he wants to feel, listen, I don't feel a thing for them. But it's clearly and obvious what they feel about someone who looks like me, or someone who doesn't look like them. And those are the type of people you don't need to be out there on the street. Those are the type of people that do not need to own a gun. Those are your trigger happy people right there. And it also makes me wonder what the relationship is like between the cops up there as well as the citizens, especially the ones they talked about. Because like I said, whatever they talked about on those posts, they will probably want so desperately, if they haven't done so already, to take that out and deal with in physical form. You can't tell me that many of these cops right here did not practice any type of police brutality against the people that they talked about. You can't tell me that. They probably did some stuff, some shady stuff, and went right home to Facebook and said how much fun they did, or how much fun they had doing this, that, and the third to somebody that they talked about in those Facebook postings. It would not surprise me in the least bit. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.